Good morning, and thank you for being here today. Before we begin, I would like to welcome some of the special guests here with us this morning. John Jay College and its president, Carol Mason, thank you for hosting us. Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul. From the New York State Senate, Brad Hoylman. Brian Kavanaugh. Monica Martinez. From the New York State Assembly, Marcos Crespo. Carmen De La Rosa. Harvey Epstein. Natalia Fernandez. Judy Griffin. Steve Otis. Taylor Raynor. Linda Rosenthal. Joanne Simon. Al Taylor. Clyde Vannell. David Weprin. Manhasset Borough President Gail Brewer. Nassau County Executive Laura Curran. Members of the New York City Council, local mayors, district attorneys, and elected officials from across the state. Brothers and sisters from labor, clergy, faith leaders, and all of the advocates and stakeholders who are working to prevent gun violence in our schools and communities. Members of Governor's administration here with us today. Good morning, and thank you for being here today. This is a very important day for the entire state of New York, and for my family, it is especially personal. I am one of far too many mothers who have faced the inexplicable tragedy of losing a child in a school shooting. My son Scott, a 35-year-old teacher, cross-country coach, and a hero, was a victim of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas massacre in Parkland, Florida. We are also joined by Mark Barden, who lost his 7-year-old son Daniel in the Sandy Hook shooting. He is one of far too many fathers who has faced this indescribable tragedy. Today we are here together with Governor Cuomo and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who mean it when they say, "No more, this has to stop." My family and I are from Long Island, and we are fortunate to have elected officials here in New York who are taking action for stronger gun safety laws. My governor, Andrew Cuomo, has proven himself to be the nation's #1 leader for gun safety. It could be a coincidence that New York has the 3rd lowest gun deaths per capita, but I don't believe in coincidences. After Sandy Hook, when the nation fell to its knees and didn't know what to do, Governor Cuomo promised Mark and the families of other victims that he would do something about it. And he did when he passed the nation's strongest gun control legislation. That law, the SAFE Act, saves lives. After the Parkland shooting, I met with Governor Cuomo as we fought for the red flag bill, and he told me, "We will get this done." And being a man true to his word, here we are today. The red flag law he's about to sign will save lives. Parkland would have never happened, and my son would still be alive if Parkland had the red flag law on February 13, 2018. Teachers and students at the school say they knew the shooter was a threat, but there was nothing they could do because there was no law in place. So I am very proud of my state for doing what makes sense, and I know Scott is proud too. Advocates and anguished parents fight, but we cannot do it alone. Without Governor Cuomo's leadership, caring, and concern for all of our safety, this day would never have happened. It has been a long time since I have had something to celebrate, but I always said that I would celebrate when the red flag legislation was signed into law. Today, I will celebrate. I can now look up and say to my son, Scott, no matter how senseless, no matter how unspeakable, no matter how incomprehensible, your murder is going to save lives. I thank you, Governor Cuomo, on behalf of myself, my family, and especially on behalf of my son, Scott. Scott J. Beagle, we did it. Now, please join me in welcoming Governor Andrew Cuomo and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Let's give a big round of applause for John Jay for hosting us today. To Linda Beagle Schulman and her husband Michael Schulman, God bless you for taking a terrible tragedy and taking that energy and taking that pain and turning it into something positive. Scott's spirit does live today. I believe that. And congratulations to Linda Beagle Schulman. Let's give her a big round of applause. We also have with us today Mark Barden, who lost his son Daniel, 7 years old, at Sandy Hook. I don't know that I would have the strength that Mark had to carry on, and I know I wouldn't have had the strength to do all the work he has done. He has been a national spokesperson on this issue, and he's made a tremendous difference. Let's give him a round of applause. To all the survivors and the families, to the advocates, to the moms who demand action, you're getting it today. I'd like to recognize my sister Maria Cuomo. She calls herself Maria Cuomo Cole. That's her married name. I just like Maria Cuomo for some reason. But my sister Maria, who produces documentaries, did a documentary on Newtown telling the story of Sandy Hook, and it was a great vehicle to get the facts out. She did that nationwide. My sister Maria Cuomo. To all my colleagues in government who are here today, especially to Senator Kavanaugh and Assembly Member Simon, who carried the bill. I was just speaking with the Speaker backstage. There is one situation when you're in the minority and you're passing a bill that really isn't going to pass, but you're passing it to make a point. It's a much different exercise when you're passing a bill and you're in the majority and it can actually pass. And Senator Kavanaugh and Assemblymember Simon were masterful in making government work, and I want to applaud them. And to have Speaker Pelosi with us today, how great is this? Speaker Pelosi, you carry all our hopes and dreams. You have given us strength and hope in the middle of the darkness. Speaker Pelosi is a champion for democracy, not just Democrats. She is the champion for democracy in Washington. And she is standing up to an administration that constantly flaunts the Constitution, that has deceived the American people, that tramples their rights, that seeks to divide this nation every day on every issue. And Speaker Pelosi, God bless you for the job you do. Now, New York is proud of what we've done on the issue of gun violence. After Sandy Hook happened, which was next door in Connecticut, 26 people killed, young children killed in a school, New York stood up and said no more. The nation said, oh no, Sandy Hook was an exception. That was just a once in a lifetime, that will never happen again. And New York said that's not true. It's not an exception. And something has to be done. And we know it's a hard issue. And we know it's a difficult issue. And we know it's an emotional issue. But something has to be done because literally we are losing human life. And when they said in the nation, well, no, it'll never happen again, we said yes, and we're going to do something. And that was Mark Barden's quest. And that was our conviction as New Yorkers, and we passed the SAFE Act, and we were right. We were right. Sandy Hook was not the last. It was not an exception. In many ways, it was only the beginning of a terrible scourge that went across this nation, and it's only gotten worse, one after the other, one more violent than the other, one more nonsensical than the other. And we said, no more, let's use common sense, and we passed the SAFE Act. And the SAFE Act made sense. Yes, people have a right to a gun if they are legitimate hunters, legitimate sportsmen, but not a person who is mentally ill, not a person who has a criminal background. Why would you ever put a gun in their hand? The SAFE Act banned assault weapons, banned high-capacity magazines. It extended the background check to private sales. Why? Because otherwise the system is a joke. And right now, the fight that the Speaker is going to have in Washington this week is exactly on this point. If you don't have a background check on private sales, you have nothing. All it means is, if you can pass a background check, you walk into a store and you buy the gun. If you can't pass a background check, you buy the gun privately. Instead of walking to the store, you walk down the block and you go to a gun show, or you buy it from a private individual and you pay a little bit more because they know that you can't pass the background check, but you can still buy a gun. It is a total loophole that swallows the law. The reality is there is no background check in this nation if you want to buy a gun, because there are so many guns and you can buy them privately. It is a joke. And the SAFE Act said, not in New York, we're going to extend the background check to the private sales also. So anyone who has a gun needs to go through a background check. And today, my friends, today New York is proud once again to pass a first in the nation, the red flag bill that empowers school teachers to do something when they believe something bad is going to happen. And we empower school teachers not by giving them guns, which is the president's idea. I mean, how ludicrous a concept. Arm the teacher, so when the bad person comes into the classroom, there can be a shootout in the classroom. I mean, it is really ludicrous and nonsensical. No, arm and empower the teacher with the law. So when they see there's a problem, so when the teacher sees there's a problem, or a family member sees there's a problem and believes that a person could be a danger to themselves or others, they can go to a judge and say, "Judge, please do an evaluation." It is common sense. If you believe that was going to happen, why would you sit back and do nothing? You protect the individual's rights because you go to a judge and there's a court-ordered evaluation. Over half of the school shootings, the teachers now say there were signs. There were signs in the person's behavior, in the destructiveness, students who were suicidal. Over half the time, there were signs. And if that teacher or that administrator had recourse and could have gone to a judge and said, "Please do an evaluation. I think this young person needs help. Please help them," how many lives could have been saved? And that's why this bill is in the spirit of Scott and a testament to the work of Linda Beagle Schulman and Michael Schulman. God bless you. And while New Yorkers are proud of what we've done, we are also a very realistic people. And we know that we can't solve this gun problem within the borders of this state, because guns come over borders, and the lines on the map are meaningless. This has to be done nationally. It has to be done federally. This is a uniquely United States problem. We lose more people to gun deaths than most developed nations. The first year of President Trump's administration, we lost 40,000 people to gun deaths, the highest number in 50 years since the federal CDC was taking numbers. Hopefully, the Speaker's good work this week is going to start us on the road to end this carnage. And Madam Speaker, what New York offers you is this. What New York offers you is proof to the myths that you will hear in Washington this week. And that's what it really is. You have, the opposition is about fear and lack of facts and lack of information. And when they say to you, Madam Speaker, oh no, this is a slippery slope. Once the government starts to regulate guns, that's a slippery slope, and then they're going to take all of our guns. This is just the camel's nose under the tent. 6 years ago, we passed the SAFE Act. 6 years ago. We have 6 years of experience. Hunters still hunt. Sportsmen still have their guns. But criminals don't, and mentally ill don't, and the slippery slope never happened, and government never came to take anyone's guns, and it worked. And after 6 years, Madam Speaker, today there are 130,000 people on a mental health database who could have bought a gun the day before the SAFE Act, but now can't buy a gun because they are not mentally stable enough to have a gun. 130,000 names. And Madam Speaker, when they talk and debate about, well, these private sales are not really the problem. After the SAFE Act, private sales have to go through the NICS background check. 33,000 people have bought guns through private sales. Of those 33,000, about 1,000 sales have been stopped because the person did not pass the background check. That's 1 out of every 33 gun sales. That is a bigger deal. And that's why this works, Madam Speaker, and the proof is on your side. The SAFE Act saved lives and didn't infringe on anybody's rights. The red flag bill, I have no doubt, will save lives and doesn't infringe on anybody's rights. It is common sense. It is logical. It is factual. We just have to get past the politics and get past the fear, because Americans are better than this. We are smarter than this. We are more proactive than this. And we're losing too many lives to ignorance and politics in this nation. And it has to end, and that is the battle that our Speaker starts this week. I applaud my colleagues in state government. I applaud the advocates who work so hard. I applaud the parents with the deepest of respect for carrying on and turning your loss into a benefit for others. We wish our Speaker Godspeed as she works to end this ugly chapter in Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a New York welcome to our great Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your kind welcome. Governor Cuomo, thank you for your invitation to be here today, for your kind words of introduction. Let us salute Governor Andrew Cuomo for his tremendous leadership on this and so many other issues. Thank you, Governor Cuomo. I join Governor Cuomo in saluting the parents who are with us, to Mark, Linda, thank you both for channeling your grief into action to save other lives. I've seen Mark around the country over the years. He has been a relentless champion. And Linda, to hear you say today is a day that you could celebrate. That makes a difference. That warms our hearts. It's an eloquent message, unsurpassed. Thank you, Linda, for your family's leadership on this. And I join the governor not only in saluting them, but saluting Senator Kavanaugh, Assemblywoman Simon, and all of the state legislators who are here. Thank you for your courage in passing the legislation. I say to my colleagues in the Congress frequently, the survival of our children is much more important than your political survival. The governor indicated the courage that it takes to pass this legislation. So once again, let us salute Senator Kavanaugh, Assemblywoman Simon, and all of the state legislators who played such an important role in sending this legislation to the governor's desk. And Governor, thank you for being the leader and inspiration and the relentless, persistent advocate for this legislation. I was pleased and honored to join you when you signed the landmark legislation last May that prevented domestic abusers from obtaining firearms. The SAFE Act, domestic abuse. Moms Demand Action was an important part of it, but all of the outside mobilization. Internally, I'm sure the legislators in this state, as well as our colleagues in the Congress, recognize that our inside maneuvering is essential, and we're responsible to do the best possible job to get the best, strongest possible result. But without the outside mobilization, we cannot be effective. So let us thank all of the outside groups for what they did to make this a success. The governor mentioned some of the statistics involved, and was it George Bernard Shaw who said the sign of a truly intelligent person is that they are acknowledged statistics, and the statistics tell the story, but the personal stories really change the minds, and the stories of the parents and the families and the school children who were there, March for Our Lives, all of that is changing, because this gun violence issue is a national health epidemic in our country. And Mr. President, if you want to talk about emergencies, this is an emergency. So I thank you, Governor, and I thank New York State for being such a leader on this issue. And my colleagues, I don't know if Nydia Velasquez is here with us. There's a lot of traffic getting over here, but she and all of the New York members have been so great on this issue, mostly all. But we in Congress want to follow your lead in keeping guns out of the hands of people who are a risk to themselves and others through extreme risk protection orders that empower the full force of communities to act, otherwise known as red flag. Now let me say, when we talk about red flag and people with certain challenges, 99% of people with any diagnosis of mental are safe, law-abiding people in our country. So we don't want to stigmatize as we do this. We just want to identify prioritize to save lives and to save lives of the person themselves, danger to themselves or to others. And let me also say that when we bring up our legislation this week, we will pass the bill on the floor of the House to prevent gun violence. We will pass that bill. It's pretty exciting. And we will do so, again, because of what you have done here to build the momentum, the outside mobilization, to make the case, so that now around 90% of the public supports gun violence prevention by way of background checks. And that includes many gun owners and many members of the National Rifle Association. They're gun owners. They've taken background checks. They think other people should too. So that's how you get to 90%, by not only advocating, but explaining this is what the bill does, so that they cannot mischaracterize, as the governor said they do, some of the leadership of the gun lobbies do. So we go forward with the full support of the American people, and we will again pass a bill, and what it will do is encouragement and the enactment of extreme risk protection order law, as you are doing here, prevent domestic violence abusers and stalkers from obtaining firearms. Once again, you're in the lead. Provide funds to the CDC for gun violence prevention research. Very, very important. They can do it, but we have to provide the funds and insist that this administration do it. And so we have the capacity to save lives. When we had the election in the fall, a lot of it was about health, the good health of the American people, and this is a health issue. The mobilization of young people and families affected by gun violence and other groups, again, were essential in electing people who had the courage to take the challenging vote to save lives. So I thank all of you in New York for being in the lead. I thank again the governor for his commitment, his dedication, his relentlessness on this issue. And I want the families to know that this will not end here. We have more to do, but it's not about taking guns away from people. It's just making sure that the law is effective in doing a background check in a timely way. We're going to extend the time. We have two bills this week. One that was about background checks, and the next day extending the period of time. Now, if you don't have a no in 72 hours, it's a yes. So we're extending the time on that. But again, all of this by listening, hearing what really will save lives, because sadly the tragic events of mass shootings command a great deal of attention, rightfully so. But every single day and every single night in our country, people are killed by guns senselessly, unnecessarily, and we want to make sure that we reduce violence in our country. So again, I thank all of you. I'm very proud of well, the whole Congress of the United States, but our members who will have the courage to vote correctly when we come together this week. Tonight, we're taking the bill to the Rules Committee. Tomorrow, the rule will be on the floor in order to and we'll vote on the rule. On Wednesday, we'll pass the bill, the gun violence prevention by background checks. Thursday, we will have the bill to extend the time. But starting the week here in New York, making this gun violence prevention week, really, not officially, but legislatively, it just sends a very, very, very strong message. So thank you for that. By the way, just incidentally, okay, you can applaud for that. While we're together here, I just want to say what else we're doing this week. But I don't want to take attention away from the gun violence prevention, but it's about the Constitution, and the governor spoke about that. Tonight we'll also go to the Rules Committee to put forth a resolution to overturn the president's declaration. Congressman Joaquin Castro of Texas, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus from Texas, a border state, was taking the lead on this. And that bill will go to the Rules Committee tonight and the floor of the House tomorrow to be voted on. And this is not about politics. It's not about partisanship. It's about patriotism. It's about the Constitution of the United States of America. It's about our beautiful Constitution, beginning with the preamble, "We the people of the United States." And as soon as that preamble ends, the very next words are Article 1, the legislative branch. Co-equal to every other branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch, spelling out in the text the powers of the Congress of the United States, the power of the purse being one of it. So this is not about partisanship. This is about saying we must honor our oath of office. To let the executive branch get away with this assault on the Constitution, we would be delinquent in our duties to the oath of office that we take. And defile the core, the heart of the Constitution, which is separation of powers, co-equal branches of government as a check and balance on each other. So this is going to be quite a week when we talk about what our Constitution really says, what it says about the separation of power, what it says about the rights of people to have gun ownership, but the rights also of us to have some say in the protection of the American people by advancing gun violence prevention. So all of you are super patriots who are doing this because you are upholding the Constitution of the United States. As you protect and defend that Constitution, you protect and defend the American people. Thank you all very much for doing it. And thank you, Governor Cuomo.
Beautiful. Congratulations.